Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa, Prasa, says it's confident that it will be successful in its case against Black Empowerment Consortium Swifambo over the supply of 70 locomotives. Now, Prasa wants the R5 billion deal set aside. It applied to the High Court in Johannesburg to review the agreement which sees Swifambo supplying the Spanish locomotives from manufacturer Vossloh España. Prasa says the move is aimed at dealing with the reports from the Public Protector and the Auditor General, which allege fraud, corruption and gross irregularities in the contract. Earlier this year, reports emerged that the locomotives were too tall and would damage the rail network's overhead lines. A report on the train's suitability has yet to be released to the public by the rail safety regulator. Swifambo maintains that it had supplied all the required documents to Prasa. Well, Prasa's spokesman Victor Dlamini joins me this afternoon for more. Victor, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Devon.
So essentially you were saying Swifambo had not submitted documentation in good standing before it got the deal. So essentially you're challenging that. But I want to know, is this case also against the Spanish manufacturer Vossloh España as well?
Well, Prasa entered into an award and a contract with Swifambo Rail Leasing, who obviously have as one of its partners, one of its technical partners, Vossloh España. But our court challenge really is against Swifambo Rail Leasing, with whom we've entered into a contract for the supply of the locomotives. So if the Spanish are involved, it's really indirect insofar as they are part of the consortium.
All right, just talk to me about the shortcomings now, but what they should have provided.
Well, it's clear from the report that was provided by the Public Protector as well as the Auditor General that there were irregularities, and these irregularities are of such a nature that had they emerged in terms of Prasa's own procurement system, Swifambo would have been or should have been disqualified from the process. And I think that when the matter is taken to court, the detail of what those shortcomings are going to emerge. But so far, as far as I understand, is that, you know, some of the things is that some of the documents were not accurate, but also there was no trading history, that the company was specifically set up to do this transaction. And more importantly, some of the things that have been revealed by our own investigation suggest that there were some not just irregularities, but also some unlawful acts. And that's why we're confident that when we take the matter to court, the court is most likely to set it aside.
Now, this is a huge deal. Presumably, work has already begun. It's R5 billion. Essentially, what is your ultimate intention with this court action? Do you want to halt everything?
Well, the contract was for the supply initially of 88 locomotives. That was cut down to 70. So we've received 13 of those locomotives, and we've already paid to Swifambo some R2.5 billion. And what we're hoping to do is, with the setting aside of, if the court agrees with us and sets aside this, obviously that will free us from having nothing to do with the contract.
Of course, you're not fooling yourself with the fight that will ensue from here. This is a huge figure, isn't it?
I imagine that, you know, anyone who receives such a contract will do everything in their power to hold on to it. But the Prasa board, chaired by Popomolife, has made it clear that as a company, even though we're quite keen to modernize rail, to improve the service and all that, we cannot do so on the basis of dodgy contracts. So certainly if there is any supplier that has flouted any of the regulations or there have been any shortcomings, we will not hesitate to act to fix it.
All right. A former employee, Daniel Timkulu, who was found to have lied about his engineering qualifications, where does he fit in all of this, and what are you seeking from him?
Well, he was the executive head of engineering services from Prasa from the 1st of April 2010 till the 17th of July 2015. And what emerged during the investigations was that two things are problematic with him. He had given us fraudulent documentation and also forged documentation. So his qualifications that he claimed to have actually turn out to be just a case of a fraudulent claim. But over and above that, he presented some documentation on the basis of which his remuneration was adjusted. That was a forged documentation. So what Prasa is seeking is a total refund of his remuneration, because had he not misrepresented himself, he wouldn't have been hired into that position.
Victor, I look at this court case and really one cannot help but to imagine the fact that this throws a spanner in the works. And when you look at our drive to really improve railways from all sides, are you concerned about the delays that this might bring along?
Well, I think Prasa is more concerned about laying a solid ethical foundation that is based on the law and that really addresses the shortcomings that were found by both the public protector and the auditor general. Yeah. So if it means that there is some of the projects that have to be halted, it is much better to do the right thing rather than to do the wrong thing quickly.
Before I let you go, I want to just touch on the findings. I don't think we've had findings so far, but these reports that the trains are just not suitable for the tracks in terms of length and dimensions. That report due to come up by the regulator, where does that fit in the saga?
Well, as you can see, the review is really around the procurement issue and the regular award of the contract. I've also heard those things about the height of the locomotives. I'm not an engineer, so I'm not qualified to speak about their suitability or otherwise. Yeah. And I think while that has captured public imagination, that is not the focus of our action right now. That's not why we're doing this. We're doing it because of the irregularities. If the report comes, we'll deal with it when it comes and deal with whatever implications when the rail safety regulator tells us what it has to say about those locomotives.
Victor Dlamini from Prasa, thanks indeed for coming in.
Thank you so much, Devon.